Hello and welcome to GM Tips. GM Rick here again. Wanted to spend a little bit of time just talking about things that will help GMs. And one of the things I think today that would be really good is buffing up your resources with both YouTube and podcast. I'm doing good. That's the one thing I appreciate you guys as you watch this. I do make mistakes. I am not for professional quality casting for any means. I'm full of humor though. If you get a little humor out of me, then your day is going really good. But what I want to talk to is about those type of resources because I think as GMs and DMs that we need our plethora of resources that we can learn and grow from. That's what is one of the best things in life when you work. All right, I'm back again. Sorry about that. I get phone calls. Doing this in a work day in between my work is always fun. So I want to give some shout outs to some people as well as give you great resources to go to. One wonderful thing is, and if you haven't figured it out, Twitter, YouTube, and in some cases Facebook and Twitch TV are all great resources for GMs and DMs to learn more about how to be better at their trade craft. And I love that we're getting into a digital media thing. We've been doing that over the years, but as a community, we've done a lot more of that. And there's some really wonderful people out there that have some really wonderful ideas and creativity. And one thing as a GM and a DM, first of all, I'm going to explain those. To the beginners, everybody hears those terms. What are the differences? Dungeon Master comes from the early years of Gygax and Chainmail, back when D&D was before D&D. And they called him a Dungeon Master because they were the master of the dungeon that you'd go into and explore, and the towns. They ran things. It's a great term. I was a Dungeon Master starting out. But Game Master, in my mind, gives you a larger, broader breadth of community. Dungeon Master limits you to D&D. Game Master says, I play D&D and more. So I like to use GM much more because it gives you that breadth that you are something more than just a Dungeon Master if you want to be. And don't get me wrong, TSR, guys, I love you guys, Wizards of the Coast, great people. Great system in 3.5. 4.0 I was a little bit more disillusioned. 5 I'm getting around to. But all of them are great intros into role-playing games, and they can be great systems for lifelong play, and they're great to have fun with. So don't get me wrong. I'm not. There's no negativity there. It's just a matter of Game Master to me says that you are the master of a realm, creating a game system fun for all your players, no matter what, regardless. It is ubiquitous of what you play. So that's kind of my take on that. So what do you use in your GM plethora to get better? And who are some of the people to add to your arsenal? So let's start. I'm going to start, and I'm going to give big props. And David will laugh that I keep doing this for him. But let's talk the Empire of Steele, okay? And they go by on Twitter at Empire with a capital E and a capital S, and then it's TEELE. They're a family that has decided a family should game together and have fun, even in role-playing games. And I really appreciate that. They have brought the family aspect into it. And there's others that have, but these guys have put a big exclamation point on it. And what they do some improv, some D&D 5 character just greatness and acting. And it's all on a podcast, and it's a lot of fun. The oldest daughter, Amara, runs things as the DM, and her father, David, and the other kids and some friends, and guys, I'll learn all your names. Forgive me. I'm getting to know them as I listen to the cast. So I'll just say, and the Steele Empire crew are so much fun. And when you listen into a cast, you got to kind of, you can listen in at any point. You can start from the beginning. You can kind of go in the middle. It's just fun. It is a free-for-all of fun and mirth and role play and getting into the character and the voices and having fun, just playing a session. And the great part is it shows you as a GM and as a DM that you don't have to be the one talking all the time. I love that Amara she'll chime in when necessary, but she just lets them go. And there's so much fun, and you see so much colorful role play and humor and banter and one-liners that it will just give you the gist that playing and GMing is meant to be fun. It is always meant to be fun. There is seriousness, there are rules, there are things you got to know, but at the end of the day, great role play is great role play. So keep that in mind as you listen in and tune in. Go in with just one of those hearts that I'm going to have fun listening to this. I got to give a shout out to Chaotic Anarchy, and she put me on to these guys, and I really appreciate she did. She does a great job marketing for them, even though she's not part of the crew yet. She's becoming part of the crew, is all I'm going to say. And she did a great job of marketing that. And that's another one. If on the D&D side, if you want somebody to get to know, Chaotic Anarchy, it's at Chaotic Anarchy, is just a sweetheart of a soul. You'll have a lot of fun getting to know her. She's a D&Der mostly, but she does do other systems, and she does play other things like Open RPG, which is a great. That's another one that you can add on there. Open Legends RPG is a great guy, and he's got a great system, and you can really add him onto Twitter and get some great ideas from him. But those two have really been huge proponents of the Steele Empire and their stuff, and their actual podcast is A Quest for Magic and Steel with an E. Keep that in mind. Don't forget that E. All right, next, Basement Heroes. You'll hear me mention these guys. Guys, there's one guy controlling the show, but there's a lot of other people that come in. And this is his basement crew of gamers. And think of it like Strange Things. You guys ever seen the show Strange Things? That's kind of way I look at Basement. Is there an adult version of those guys in the basement? And just greatness. They are so much fun to listen to. And he will do interviews and have other people on there and do some other segues. But he does a great job of just bringing you into a session and really tying you in. And for the D&Der, it's kind of the fun learning of listening to how a player and the GM should be in a system. And I think that's what you keep the ear out in all cases. Some greatness on here, and I'll mention them next after I get after Basement. But just go out there to them and look up Basement Heroes, and they've got so many episodes. But start from one, do yourself justice, start from the beginning and listen through. And I would do probably 1 to 2 a week. I know some like to splurge and catch up, kind of like they do with Critical Role on YouTube, and don't do that to yourself. Take it in, enjoy it, don't rush it. Listen, break it down, have fun, and take things away that you can really use with the session. So that's some of the ones there. I've got more to go. All right. So what's another one that I would put in there? And this goes to this. It goes to the Exploding DM, which is Ask Ren. I've mutilated his thing so many times. I'm sorry, Ren. Dude, I am so sorry. I kill you. I just do. And yet I give you shout-outs, and I just mutilate them all the time. So this time I'm going to do it right and make sure you get all of his information. It's at AskRen on Twitter. It is also the Exploding Dice. So that's his show. Please tune in. Exploding Dice is greatness. He brings in a lot of guests. So he'll bring in guests from the game creation community. He'll bring in guest GMs. He will bring in maybe one from the gaming community and the GM to banter about how do you make GMing and role play and adventure for a system so much more enhanced. He'll take questions. He is really a lot of fun. He had Matt Mercer on for you critters. Beautiful interview with Matt. And I think they hit, and this led into what I mentioned with the Steele Empire. The thing that I love about him in Basement Heroes is that he says it best when he says, a great GM or DM looks at other people's works and shows and steals the best ideas from them to make them their own, and that way evolve themselves as a GM. Perfect. I don't know if I love this team, the term steal. Basically, you're mimicking, you're emulating those that you really enjoy. Emulate the qualities in other GMs and DMs. And from his show, he's going to bring on a plethora of people. So do not miss out on his weekly cast. I love piping in. He's up on Twitch TV. Love looking him up there under the Exploding GM. Or Exploding DM. God. Change it to GM. You're killing me, dude. Ren, I'm going to kill myself with doing your stuff. I'm just going to off the side of the cliff with this stuff. But watch his stuff. Really good, worth it. It's about 2 hours worth of time, really out of the schedule. Sometimes a little less, but it's well worth it. And I'm going to tell you, he is not afraid to say the great things that make GMs better. And neither do his guests. And he asks all those probing questions that make it so much more fun that we want to ask that we don't get to ask. So keep that in mind. Tune in. Tune in. All right. So who's next on the things? Well, we're going to give you Everything is Awesome with Kev on the iPod, or the podcast iPod. That's what I would listen to it on. Oh, I'm having a Monday. Yay me. This is mirth. If you guys aren't laughing by now at me, you will be by the end. So listen in, because he has a lot of people on that are interesting. He brought on the whole Steele Empire crew with well, I'm not going to say the whole. He brought on Amara and David, which is a lot of greatness. And like he said, he's doing a two-parter with David. Love listening to it. Love listening to David just talking about how he got into it with his family, that his kids played D&D, and he's always wanted to, but never got around on it, and finally saw the chance. And how he does it is he gets in by doing an online podcast with them. And they thought, let's do something fun that can be sessions, but also will incorporate acting and other fun things. And then we may have some other shows that will do some one-liner ideas and concepts that we can throw out a word and just all go random on it. And I like that he is just fun and creative with bringing on the guests like that. And you know, Kev's a dad. And he's got a lot of role-playing game experience building. He's not there yet. He's like David. He's kind of got into it late in life, but he's got a zest for it. And, you know, he loves talking about everything that is awesome in life. And so if you want just a great variety of different things, tune into his podcasts. Or once a week. I believe, if I'm correct, you do them like Steele on Sundays. Could be wrong. Maybe it's Thursdays. Maybe I'm missing my guess here. But definitely tune in and get the new episodes and download them. They're well worth listening to. And it's an hour to an hour and a half, depending. And it's well worth the time spent. It's good listens. All right. So let's go to EvilSqueeGee. Scrub-a-dub, my friend. Yeah, you guys will get the scrub-a-dub if you watch his thing. But it never is just scrub-a-dub. It's scrub-a-bleep-and-dub. And you got to love him. Now, he is R-rated and lots of language and F-bombs and other things. But let me say, well worth listening to. Because when it comes to honing your skills as a GM, learning new techniques, learning how to use Roll20, learning how to create maps, watching his one-shots, watching his campaign ones like the Deadlands, he is GM greatness, and I'm not just saying this. I go to a lot of his stuff. You'll see I steal a lot from him or emulate a lot from him. I like Squeege to death. He just is a great human being. He has some great sidekicks, which I'm not going to mention you all because I want you guys to go see it. And they're more than sidekicks. They're other people you should be following. So just keep that in mind. Go watch a couple of his different episodes on YouTube. Get the people that are on there, copy their names into your Twitter. These are people you need to be reaching out to and working with. They can definitely hone your skills when it comes to D&D, when it comes to Deadlands, when it comes to Savage Worlds, when it comes to Call of Cthulhu, and yes, even once in a while, my system, Pathfinder. Not often, but once in a while. So keep that in mind, and don't forget to subscribe to him, scrub-a-dub-bub-bub, and do it right. All right, so some other people that you want to tune into. Go to the website of World Builders. They're at World Builders In on Twitter. And forgive me, for Squeegee, it's at EvilSqueeGee. EvilSqueeGee, SQUEEGEE. So World Builders, great bunch. I just discovered these guys. They followed me. I love it. They do not only blogs on gamings and worlds, they do news, maps and downloads, and they do generators for trade goods. So just keep that in mind. So World Builders has a lot of fun things and resources. Just keep that in mind. And I know I'm hyping on them hard, but go to their website. It's worldbuildersin.com. Check them out, and they are at World Builders In on Twitter. The Humble Fumble, those guys, I tell you what, I love them. We follow and chat. They're basically 5 different guys that podcast on their weekend fungeons. Not just dungeons, but fungeons. So a DM in the fungeon changes with every new episode and series. And the most recent, yeah, there's Kim in the background, is the Tomb of Felix the Fox. Go figure. But you got to remember, as a GM, you got to have some fun and some fantasy and some flightiness. So having this in here, you get to hear the fun again. And you notice I'm emphasizing a lot of fun people, and that's kind of the key with all of it. So definitely listen to the Potter and family there, and they're under the Humble Fumble on the podcasts. So keep that in mind. But their Twitter address is at the Humble Fumble, and add them, definitely. Well worth it. So that takes us to Dead Dice Society. Dead Dice Society is coming out soon. It is the creative work of DM Deistress and her bunch coming together to review games and also to do their own little dungeon casts, as they call it. So they're doing their own little cast-ups. Add at DM Deistress, add the Dead Dice Society at Dead Dice Society, and also add them on YouTube. That's where they're going to be posting these up. So the fun and flightiness and fantasy will be there. And then finally, 2 more. The Parks Guy. That Parks Guy is amazing fun. He's had 16 years GMing, and there's also at that Parks Gal. At that Parks Gal, yeah. And he's great because he's got his own little YouTube thing that he does on a multitude of different things gaming. So it's youtube.com/C/ that Parks Guy. So keep that in mind and add him in there. He's great just to ask a lot of neat things too when it comes to gaming and getting advice from him. Fun guy to have on Twitter to Twitter back and forth with on different ideas. And, you know, he definitely lets me know what he likes and doesn't like about my GMing. So it's really kind of fun. And then finally, the Rolistes podcast. The Rolistes are at Rolista, ROLISTES pod. And they do podcasts. They're a group out of the UK, out of London. And they have fun with all things RPG as well as other things. Their latest one, really good one, is Everything Monty Cook and Other RPG Memories. So it's all the Monty Cook games. So keep that in mind as they go through and talk about the different Monty Cook things as well as Shannon Germain and their products with Cypher System and so many others. They got Cypher Systems, Say No Evil. And then there's what's Numenera. So all good systems to learn, all good systems to play, and definitely worth adding to your list. So these are some of the different ones that I'm hitting right now. I got so many more. Believe me, there's so many more. At Zern75, ZHERN75 is a great guy to add when it comes to Pathfinder and all things Pathfinder for getting advice. And there's just so many more that I've got on my list, so keep that in mind. I'm not trying to leave any of you out. It's just I've got so many of you. I'd be doing a 2-hour podcast on these things or a 2-hour YouTube cast. So keep these guys in mind. My stuff is GM tips under GM Rick. So look up GM tips on YouTube. I try to do these things all the time to help gamers. I appreciate any and all advice you guys give me, and this is done as more of a public service for you guys. I just enjoy doing it, and once in a while you'll hear co-GM over there, Kim. She pipes in, and then of course you always hear Mini G running by. Mini G is always in the area, so keep that in mind. Thanks, guys, and have a great week.